Welcome, everybody, to today's edition of the FG and Associates Coffee Break Podcast. And joining me today, I have the one and only, the man with the financial plan, Christian Fournier. How are we doing, sir?
Zach, we're doing very well. It's another good week. Can't complain, man. Thank you.
Yeah, another good week. We said that 2024 was going to be the year of action, and we are living up to it, my friend. We are off to a great start, so I'm happy about that.
Now we are. It's funny because you don't realize how much you do in a week until you open up your agenda. It's like, man, did you put in the work? And we talked about it. This is the year of action, and we're seeing the results already. So it's been fun. It's been good. The clients have been having a good time too, and the markets have been helping. So it's win-win-win so far.
Awesome. Yeah, and episode 12.
Episode 12, is that right?
Yeah,
Hey,
episode 12.
I'm gonna need some
we
more
got our
fingers.
GOAT episode,
Cause...
Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's it, man. It's going by fast.
Episode 12. We're nearing the end of January already. What are the headlines? What's going on right now in the markets and the whole financial business world? What do we have?
No, there's two things I want to talk about, Zach. The first one, people are going to be receiving their statements. Well, they probably already did last week. If not, they're going to be looking at that. In the past year, it was rough. You open up your statement, man, markets are down again. I could have made more money if I just went into a GIC or in a high interest savings account, you know? But guess what? They're going to open up that little envelope and they're going to say, man, I'm up quite a bit. The last quarter of 2023, the market rebounded significantly, man. S&P 500 last 3 months of the year up 13%. Just I'll repeat. We won't spend much time on it, but just stick to your plan, guys. And there's ways to do it, but just follow what your profile is and stick to it. That's how you make money in the long term. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. The other one
on that,
yeah, go ahead.
On that, sorry to cut you off, but is there anything you can put your finger on why it rebounded in the last 3 months of the year?
Look, the economy, well, yeah. If I had to say one thing, it's interest rates. The Fed saying, all right, pause. I think we're done. Oh, we might even decrease them. Oh, okay. People get excited. Easy money's coming back. So no, it's in line with people's expectations. People expect them to do that. People think it is a positive. They start buying more equities, and the equity markets go up. So that's why I think it went up on that side. And for the other ones, Zach, so does the company LVMH ring a bell to you?
I don't know about MH, but LV makes me think about Louis Vuitton.
Exactly. So LVMH, it's the Louis Vuitton Moet. Good drink. Hennessy as well. If you guys like a nice Hennessy, it's cognac. It's extremely tasty. They own, Zach. They have, you know how we have portfolios for our clients where we put in some nice companies with our funds and we build them a nice portfolio. So they've actually have a portfolio of extremely expensive high-end brands, okay? Christian Dior, Fendi, I'm going to mess up some of these names, Givenchy, but Tag Heuer, Hublot, Veuve Clicquot, Hennessy, of course, Louis Vuitton, it's all names that we know, and they're worth quite a bit. And as of today, in the past week, they've been up about 15%, man. So it's...
This past week?
Yeah, in the past week, 15%. And just as Friday, it's up about 12%. So it's significant. What does that tell me? It's, look, people that have money will keep spending even when there's recessions. I see it in different industries. High-end design where people are doing renovations. The pandemic or the recession during the pandemic, it did not exist. They had money. They spent even more. So people in tough times can keep taking advantage. And there are ways too, no matter what the market's looking at, there are some places where people will keep spending.
Do you know who, this is funny because this actually relates. So do you know who the richest man in the world was at some point during COVID?
Was it the owner of? I'm trying to think. Okay, well, look, if I had to go with my guesses, it's either Elon Bezos, Buffett. I know he's always in the top 10, but no. But I know what's his? It's the French owner of. I think it's Bernard Arnault, the owner of LVMH. Did he hit the top at some point?
Yes, exactly. So during COVID, a little bit into it, at some point, he flew by Elon and Bezos as the richest man in the world, Bernard Arnault. And he's the owner of LVMH.
Yeah,
LVMH?
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's the owner of LVMH. And people are wondering, well, Jesus, like, people are not working and all that. So why is it all of a sudden that this guy is the richest man in the world? And there's some different theories out there, but one of them that caught my say ear, because I heard about it, caught my ear, is the fact that the stimulus checks,
mm,
everybody was receiving free money all of a sudden. And what do
yeah,
people do with their money? They buy things that they can't usually afford with free money. So
yeah,
I'm not saying that everybody did this, but all of a sudden, this guy is richest man in the world. And a lot of it was associated to people using those stimulus checks to buy things that they usually wouldn't pay for themselves with the money they've earned through work. And we've seen the videos. I mean, I've seen plenty where you'll see those man in the street interviews where the person is down in Miami and he's asking these girls, he's like, "Hey, girls, how much did you get for from your stimulus check for COVID? $3,000. Oh yeah,
yeah.
what'd you do with the money? Oh well, we came to Miami. Miami. How much did the trip cost you? $3,000. So it's like some people just do not use the money. Like they get free money and they just boom, Vegas. I told you the story on another podcast of the girl who realized she could use her Best Buy credit card on
Yeah.
anything. What she do? She booked a trip to Vegas. So
Oh
it's
my
just
god.
I find it funny that when you said LVMH, I was like, or HM, whatever it is, Louis Vuitton, Bernard Arnault. When you said that, I was like, man, I think that was the guy that became the richest man in the world during COVID. And how ironic that when people are struggling, well, the guy who owns all the luxury brands became the richest man in the world. So I think it's just a reflection on how there's and I don't blame the people who spend money on these things, not at all. Don't get me wrong. What I do blame it on is this damn educational system that does not focus on financial literacy. Not enough people
Agreed.
know the importance and the benefits of having a good emergency fund, no debt, and then after that being able to spend on these types of little luxuries without feeling guilty. I swear that everybody who bought a luxury bag or whatever or bought themselves a trip, after that they felt guilty because they're like, gosh, I don't necessarily have the money, but whatever, it's going to be great. It's going to be a great time. I've earned it, whatever. But the best feeling is when you actually have your emergency fund. You put money aside, you're investing, and then you come to the point where you can buy yourself those things without feeling nervous or stressed or whatever. That's the real luxury. So, just a quick side note: when you mentioned that company, I knew that I was pretty sure that was the one who became the richest man in the world. But again, I do not blame the people. I blame the fact that financial literacy is lacking in our communities. So, again, another thing that we're trying to do here at FG is to
Yeah.
increase the financial literacy. And I'm actually in talks with a university right now, some different schools across Quebec, and an organization for more senior people who give free classes about giving talks on financial literacy itself. So it's part of our mission here at FG. But
And
yeah, I
no,
got off topic.
no, I appreciate it. And have you watched Succession, Zach? The
Ooh,
show?
I think I watched like one or two a long time ago, but no, I can't say I've actually watched it.
So I love the show. It's on HBO. It's on Crave, and they talk extremely wealthy, one of the richest news media tycoons, and it just shows how like the transition towards the kids have taken over the business, the
Mm.
family wealth, and all that. But they were kind of jokingly that this show is based a bit off of Arnaud because there's going to be so
Oh,
much wealth transfers, Zach, between these businesses. I mean, look, we know how it is, and it what always resonated with me. don't quote me on this because I listened to a video, but it always hit me in the premise. We'll try to link it up at some point there, but it's like, look, my father, I don't know, drove a Ford to work or whatnot. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son's driving a Ferrari. And then my grandson will be walking out to work again because, like they're talking about how tough times create tough men, easy times create weak men, but then and weak men creates weak or tough times, and then it's that vicious cycle. One thing that always hit me, Zach, was usually by the third generation of these big family dynasties, the money's gone. Imagine
Well,
that
you know
just by the
what's
third, Zach.
interesting.
What's
So
that?
I took out the book. I actually have some stats on this. So because it
Okay.
is in one way something that we do at Founders, we help people
Which book? Sorry.
successfully. This is Walking to
The C.
Destiny by
Amazing.
Chris Snyder from the
Okay.
Exit Planning Institute. And so one thing that we do at Founders, again, is to help people successfully transfer their business, whether it be to an outside partner or internally to the next generation in their family. And
Yeah.
what's funny is that, and I'm going to just read it off the book here because I have it highlighted, but historical data shows family businesses only have a 30% success rate into the second generation, 12% into the third generation, and 3% into the fourth and beyond. So that just
Imagine
goes to
that's
show you that being rich doesn't guarantee anything, and usually family businesses, more than more than 2 out of 3 businesses do not make it to the second generation.
it's insane. One thing I'm more surprised at, Zach, how in the world did you find that page so fast? Do you have a note taking process? Did you just knew this was coming? Because look, this is impromptu. Was it? How did you get to it that fast? You got to give us your secrets, man.
Because this is a book that I've been through a lot. It's
Yeah.
basically it's like the first book they send you when you want to start when you want to become a CEPA, a certified exit planning advisor. So I've been through this book a lot, and this is
Okay.
actually a few pages where there's a bunch of interesting stats. Like for example, 63% of business owners indicate that they would like to transition within the next 10 years. That
Okay.
just goes to show the opportunity that we have in helping people successfully transition their business. But when you see that, you're like, okay, more than half, almost 2/3 of businesses are going to transition in the next 10 years. But if 80% of those fail to sell, again,
I'm done.
I'm like a broken record here, but that's why we build Founders, because we see the massive opportunity to have a positive impact on our community. And think about it. I don't know if we've said this on the podcast before, but we've said it in internal meetings where the beautiful thing with Founders is that at FG and Associates, we help our clients and their families because
Yep.
we help them secure them financially, get rid of that financial stress or whatever. What's beautiful with Founders is that we get to help our clients, their families, of course, then their employees' families, their clients' families by helping them give out a better service. So the impact is massive of what we can do with Founders. And with FG and Associates, I can't diminish the impact we can have there because literally anybody you cross on the street deals with money. So anybody
Mm-hmm.
could be a client. So that's why there's an infinite reach that we can go get with FG and Associates. Of course, there's some geographical limitations because compliance wise, we can't just go to the States and sell some mutual funds, whatever. However, with Founders, we don't have those boundaries.
Right.
So kind of mentioning again how excited we are about that. But yeah, so that's why I have it so close because I'm used
Okay.
to
I
going
was
through this,
surprised.
finding stats, and yeah,
I was
yeah.
surprised.
But yeah, I'm strong on the books. But speaking of books, and funny enough, because it relates to a bit what I was saying earlier about the darn educational system, not talking about financial literacy.
Yeah.
Um, I read a book recently by Patrick Bet-David, someone that I find is extremely insightful in business, finance, and everything. And he wrote his new book called "Choose Your Enemies Wisely." And then this one I had it ready. Yeah, I had it ready. So
Okay.
choose your enemies wisely. It's a great book, and what I really loved about the book is that basically it's business planning for the audacious few. And what he talks about in this book is he helps you create a business plan, but for him, a business plan isn't just something that you do once and then you put in a drawer and never look at it again.
Mm-hmm.
For him, a business plan is something that when you look at it, it fuels you. It gets you fired up, and you wanna look at it every morning to go out there, build your business. And when times get hard, you read your business plan, you get fired up again, and then you go at it. And one of the big things is that he uses enemies. Enemies,
Okay.
it sounds weird. Like why would you want more enemies? Well, not necessarily more enemies, but just to choose your enemies wisely. And what is an enemy?
Mm-hmm.
Well, an enemy could be, it's got to be something that fuels you. And I think that, where did I had something right here where the most powerful enemy is people who are beating you because their vision or accomplishment are greater than yours. The right enemy triggers the right actions.
Oh.
So an enemy could be a person, someone who's told you something in the past that fires you up. Like one thing for me when I played football, I was told that I was short. I was told that I was too small.
Yeah.
I was told that I would never play past high school. Well, those are voices that when I'd get on the field or when I would get in the gym, I'd think about those people, and it would get me fired up. I mean, me and you, Chris, we've had people tell us, "Hey, what you guys are trying to do, that's fantasy land. That doesn't work."
Yeah.
The financial industry hasn't changed for years and years and years. There's a way to do things, and that's just, you either conform to the way things were always done, or it won't work. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to be completely different. These videos, the marketing, the podcast, and all that, this is our way of saying that, you know what, I don't think the future of marketing is on billboards. We think
Mm-hmm.
that it's digital, and we have to find a way to do this digital marketing. But types of enemies that I found interesting that I want to share, it could be relatives who try to hold you back.
Yeah.
People, someone that you're trying to prove wrong, someone who's doubted you. It could be people who quit on you, people who were in your circle, who were supporting you, and then all of a sudden they don't support you anymore. And I've seen, Alex Hormozy. We
Yeah.
see him a lot of his clips on YouTube and all that. And he has a clip where he talks about when he first opened his gym, and he's sleeping on the floor, and the people who'd come train at the gym would see him. They're like, wow, they'd see his sleeping bag in the corner and be like, oh man, you're working so hard. All these sacrifices, they're going to pay off, man. They're going to pay off. Keep working.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to pay off. You got this. We believe in you. And then 9 months later, business is rolling. He's hired a few more people. The gym is growing. He has other ambitions that are starting to come through in fruition. And now when he comes in the room, they're like, oh, boss man is here. Watch out, don't work too much there, boss, and all that. And then he's looking
Yeah.
at them and he's like, I've accomplished what you said you were rooting for me to do. And now you're teasing me because I'm bigger now, and my things worked out.
Yeah.
So that could be another type of enemy. People who just stop believing in you. An enemy could also be being satisfied, being
Mm-hmm.
content with where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Chris, you were already extremely successful before I got into the industry, and you don't have, like, without getting into the numbers, you don't have to grow this business. You could just
Right.
maintain.
Right.
And this is not a criticism, this is just how the business is. A lot of people in our industry, once they get to a certain point, well, they're happy and they don't want to work 40, 80 hours a week. They just want to maintain their client base. And maybe that's, 15, 20 hours a week. They just want to maintain. As long as they have that money coming in, they're happy. And there's no problem with that. But for people who are very ambitious and who have big goals, a big vision like you, well, being satisfied, being content with where you are, being comfortable could be one of your enemies.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I wanted to bring it, and why I was referring to what I was saying earlier of one of my enemies is the lack of financial literacy. I think it's unfair. I think it's ridiculous that you could have a degree in business, get out of university, studied in business, and
Mm-hmm.
not know anything about personal finance. I think it should be part of every high school. It should be I don't know if these are the right words, but public educational curriculum or whatever it may be, however you're supposed
Yeah.
to say it, but I think it should be part of it. And another enemy is the fact that so many businesses fail to sell. We want to help people achieve financial freedom through entrepreneurship. So, all that to say, and um, uh, one thing that the book that I loved is he talks about an exercise, and I did this, and this page is full of it. Is
Okay. Are those all your
I wrote
enemies?
down, I have a full page. Yeah, I don't want to keep it quick because I have some
Yeah,
names
yeah.
on here. But I
Be
have here,
careful.
I
People are
have a
going to be
bunch of
pausing.
quotes. Yeah. I have a bunch of quotes of things people have told me since I was it could be when I was a kid playing football, or it could be now in business or whatever. These are all quotes of people with the names next to it, of people who've doubted me, of things
Yeah.
that when you feel lazy, I look at that list and then it gets me so fired up because I'm like, damn, like you thought this was fantasy, what we're trying to build. You don't believe in what we're doing. People never believed that I can play after high school, play football, or even go from quarterback to receiver, whatever it may be. People didn't think I can learn finance when I didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
People said it was stupid when I quit my job because I didn't have a real plan, which I'll give them that. But I'm me.
Look where
You
you're
know,
at
I
now.
figured it
Yeah, yeah.
out. I believed in myself. So, but they didn't. So those things fuel me. So all this to say, Chris, man with a financial plan,
That's
what
me.
fuels you?
Look, we'll go into the enemies talk, okay? Because you know what? It's funny. I didn't think I had any, but then you're talking, man, I got some enemies, you know?
Oh, you thought of some people. I know it.
Oh, look, I pulled something up, okay?
No names.
No names. 12 years ago, on one of my pictures, okay, was me hurdling someone. Because I did it in high
Ooh.
school. It was a beautiful picture. Did it again, another person. I don't know how these photographers are always there at the perfect time. So I posted it. And someone posted, "Is this the greatest thing you're going to do with your life?" Question mark.
Whoa.
And then uh, commented, "You peaked early. Dot, 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 dot." And there's,
So you posted a football wait, you posted a football picture of you. First of all, that's the most for me, that's the most mind-blowing thing. I don't even know how your mind can go there of just jumping over another human,
yeah.
but we won't even talk about that. So you posted a picture
So
of you hurdling someone and they
posted a,
commented,
"Is that the greatest, or is that the best thing you'll do in life? You peaked early. Dot, dot, dot." And I just looked at it. There's 9 other people that liked it. Of course, I was a little cocky back then
"Oh my
and whatnot.
god."
But anyways, so that fired me up. And I never forgot about that, man. And guess what? Okay, yeah, I excelled in athletics in high school, but man, look, as of today, I've built $1 million business. I've helped hundreds of people with their finances. I've started a family. I've traveled quite a bit. I've been able to go build a significant relationship, start a family, get married, live life on my terms the way I want to be. I'd consider myself to be a good person because I live by that golden rule and I always try to treat other people the way I would like to be treated. But you know what? For me, that's an enemy, man. What? Go and attack someone like that. But I use it as motivation. But look, that's a small enemy. My biggest enemy, Zach, is average.
Mm.
That's what scares me the most. Just being average. Like, I'm not saying if it's something I don't care about. I don't know. I don't care if I'm average, but if it's something I deeply care about, whether it's financial planning, whether it's being a dad, whether it's growing a
Mm.
business, I will not stand being average. God gave me these talents. I will not let them go to waste. And I'm going to make sure that when I die, I'll be happy. You know what? I gave it my all. And this is what I've built with what we've had. And so those are enemies, man. And enemies, too. It's people that don't believe in you. I mean, it's just, or not thinking big enough. And I see it from
Mhm.
people even in our industry, like, man, you guys are thinking already too big. You gotta know how to walk before you can run and all these things, man. But
It's one of the quotes I have right here.
is that right?
Yes,
I'm
and you
telling
know
you.
the person who told me that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, but I have nothing against him. It's just it's good motivation, and for me, it's just that being average. I just want to keep progressing all the time, and it's not to boast, not to accumulate a bunch of crap. It's just that's what drives me, Zach. That's actually what
and
drives me. It's that process.
and you said something that's great, because one thing he does mention, and it takes a lot of growth and maturity to do that. You said that, those comments back in the day, that fueled you, but after that you said that's a small enemy though. There
Hmm.
is a time where you have to move on from an enemy, and at the
Yeah,
end of the day, it might be the hardest thing to do. You got to forgive him, and just be
yeah,
able to be like, guys, you know what? They didn't know what they were talking about. I can't be,
yeah.
but then you got to upgrade, who's the new enemy? Because that's a trap with enemies. And that's why the book isn't called Choose Some Enemies. It's Choose Your Enemies Wisely.
Hmm.
There's a point where some enemies are beneath you, and not in the sense, I'm not
Yeah,
downgrading.
yeah.
I'm not, it's not meant to be insulting to anybody. I'm just saying, or they're saying that you're better than anybody else. What I'm saying is that sometimes you got to move on from an enemy, because it's just toxic, and
Yeah.
it's not actually fueling you. It's just angering you, and it's not
Hmm.
actually making you better. So back in the day, that was probably fuel for you to be like, I'm not just going to be a football player. I'm not going to peak
Yeah.
by being a football player. Look at you now, you haven't. But now you've graduated to new enemies who it's
Hmm.
probably, the challenge of building a massive business, where in an industry where the average advisor is 55 and has been in the industry for multiple years, and it's been a stagnant industry that hasn't really evolved up until COVID, where everything became digital and everybody had to adapt. Electronic signatures became a thing. Your reach because of virtual meetings just exploded.
Explodes.
Now you're in Quebec City, but most of your clients, because that's where we were for most of the time, are in Montreal, and now I'm in
Yeah.
Sherbrooke. Like, this is something the industry completely flipped. The industry completely
Exactly.
changed, and I think that's where people our age are going to have the advantage, not only because we have another 30 years ahead of us, but because we're adapting quick. And in an
Yeah.
industry where it hasn't changed much, and again, nothing I'm saying is targeted at anybody. I'm just saying this is my overall observation from someone who came from the outside, who didn't think would be in this industry. That's the big opportunity that I see. And I encourage everybody our age to seize that opportunity. And funny enough, I was at Tremblant with some other advisors, and our
Yeah.
table was like the rookie table. It was
Yeah.
the people who had been in the business for less than 3 years or whatever. And the comments about our videos. It's not your videos; it's your little videos. Just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
slight little
Oh
little
yeah.
jab. It's not, oh, how are your videos going? It's, hey, comment que vont vos petits vidéos. And I
Yeah.
don't know, that gets me.
It comes and
Put it
gets
in the
you.
book. But
Another one. And
yeah,
one thing too,
exactly.
Zach, it's there could be enemies in the sense that they don't even know who you are, but you could pick them as an enemy because you aspire
Yeah,
to get to that level. Like there are good enemies. It's like, man, when I
yeah,
see
and
this guy
let's
on TV all the time, or he's giving that reach, and I want to be that guy. He's my target. It's a good enemy.
and when we say enemy, don't think about hate. Like we
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
the right enemy triggers the right action. The right action isn't hate. It's someone that fuels you. Like, there's people, when I we get a production report every week or so, and there's a list of who are the top performers in our area, in our region. And I look at that, and I just look at the people, and I'm like, okay, well, then you're next. And I try to work my way up the list. And last year I finished, at least I made it on the list last year, which I was
yeah,
happy about, because first year I didn't even sniff the list. But now, I made it on, and now I have some people that were ahead of me, and those are the people I'm trying to beat. So it's not hate, it's fuel. And
yeah,
that's why the whole book was Choose Your Enemies Wisely. And Speaking of list and fuel, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, there was a
Mm,
ranking in the States when he played basketball. And I think there was like, it was like maybe the top 100. He was like 68th or something. I'm not, don't quote me. These aren't the perfect numbers. Go watch the interview with Patrick Bet-David. I think he had a great interview. And he talks about how he had a list of everybody that was ahead of him. And then he would one-on-one them and then slowly scratch them off the list, scratch them off the list. Kobe Bryant had enemies, but it was just that anybody who was considered ahead of him, the real enemy might have been the person who made the list. But
mm-hmm.
the way he had to prove it, the way he had to fight it, was to play against all those players one on one, whether it's in a game or on the court, whatever it may be, but then slowly scratch them off the list to prove, all right, this guy, everybody knows now he's not better than me. And then move up, move up. But then at some point, if you're number one, then you had to graduate. Now
Yeah.
NBA. Now he's being compared to a young Michael Jordan. And then, so that's why fuel your choose your enemies wisely. Sorry. I thought was such a good book because it fuels you, but it also teaches you to not just having an enemy is not about anger. It's not about hate. It's not about wanting to destroy anybody. It's about yourself, but it's
Yeah.
about fueling yourselves and choosing the right enemy triggers the right actions. And I love that. So yeah, that's like my book of the week, you can say it, or my takeaway from a book that I
I
want to
like
share
it.
this week.
All right, that's good, man. And it's what I like about a book like that will evoke emotion, and emotion can lead to
Hmm.
action. So no, it's on my reading list. I got it thanks to Santa there.
Yeah.
So no, yeah. So no, it's gonna be good.
So so anybody watching, and I look, it's not a massive brag, but I'm pretty proud that now the last three videos, we're averaging 20 viewers.
There
I'll
we
take it,
go.
man.
We'll
Put
take it,
20
man.
people in my basement right now. I'll be pretty darn happy that they're listening to a full podcast. So
Yeah,
those who
yeah.
are listening, again, thank you so much. We appreciate the support. We're constantly working to get better. We can't wait for what is next. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We have, I believe this week we have our Founder Series podcast with Devin Eaton that's coming out. Then we have Axel Raymond. And after that, we have one of our friends down in Florida that we have. We have some other ones booked. So it's we spoke about a lot of things that we're speaking them into existence and we're manifesting it, and it's actually happening. Why? Because we're putting in the work, but we're very grateful for the people watching, the people listening. Thank you so much. Share, like, comment on the podcast. Who will be our first comment? That could be a contest. First person to comment on the
Comment
pod.
your enemy. It'd be
We'll get
nice.
a shout out.
Yeah,
We'll give them a
exactly.
shout out. First person to comment on the podcast will get a shout out.
Our
But
first fan.
Chris, I'll leave you some final words before we wrap it up.
If you guys could take one little thing that we talk about or apply into our videos or comments or podcasts, just think about it and apply it. So for this one, maybe just think who's an enemy and what have you done to fuel that towards action. So that's all I have to say, guys. Enjoy your week. Have a great one, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. Bye bye.